Well, starting tomorrow, work is the rest of your life. That's right. Ouch. Exactly. So my first wish is for you to find joy in work.
Jensen is here, of course, the CEO of NVIDIA.
So my first wish to you is the same, that I wish you find joy in your work.
The number of engineers, software engineers, is actually increasing. People talk about AI reducing jobs. Complete nonsense.
This is the clear winner of every winner in the world of artificial intelligence. This company powers everything from OpenAI, Google's programs.
In 2025, one company made more profit than most countries make in tax revenue. $72 billion in 12 months, not from oil, not from banking, not from selling you anything you use every day. It came from a chip, a piece of silicon most people couldn't name 3 years ago. The company is NVIDIA, and right now it sits underneath almost every major artificial intelligence system on Earth. ChatGPT, self-driving cars, drug discovery labs, military simulations. Here's the part nobody tells you. NVIDIA didn't set out to build any of that. It started in a Denny's booth in San Jose, California, with 3 engineers who just wanted video games to look better. That's the twist at the center of this story. The most important infrastructure company in the age of AI was never trying to build AI infrastructure at all. It stumbled into the future by accident, and then spent 3 decades making sure nobody could catch up. 1993. Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem founded NVIDIA to chase one narrow goal: 3D graphics for gaming. Nobody in that room was thinking about intelligence. They were thinking about pixels. 6 years later, in 1999, they invented something that didn't exist before: the GPU, the graphics processing unit. It was built to render explosions and textures in video games. It just happened to be extremely good at one other thing, doing thousands of small calculations at the exact same time. Nobody noticed yet. Not really. NVIDIA was still, on paper, a gaming company. Competing with Sony, competing with 3DFX, fighting for shelf space in electronic stores. But in 2006, they made a decision that should have bankrupted them. NVIDIA built something called CUDA, a way for outside programmers to run general-purpose computing on a graphics chip. The problem? In 2006, there was no market for that. None. They spent years and enormous sums of money building software for a customer base that didn't exist yet. Investors were confused. Wall Street didn't reward it. Competitors didn't bother copying it, because why would you copy a feature nobody was asking for? Internally, this was terrifying. A gaming company spending fortunes preparing for a future it couldn't prove was coming. Then in 2012, something happened in a university lab that changed everything. A neural network called AlexNet entered an image recognition competition. It was trained using NVIDIA GPUs. It didn't just win. It obliterated the competition by a margin nobody had seen before. NVIDIA itself would later call this moment the Big Bang of modern AI. Researchers everywhere suddenly realized the graphics chip built for video games was, by accident, the best tool on the planet for machine learning. And here's the part that made it unbeatable. While competitors were just discovering this, NVIDIA had already spent 6 years building CUDA, the software layer every researcher now needed to actually use the hardware. They weren't catching up to the AI boom. They had been quietly preparing for it since 2006 without knowing it was coming. The gamble paid off in a way nobody could have predicted. By 2017, NVIDIA had built its first chip specifically designed for AI workloads, the Tensor Core. By 2020, they made a move almost nobody outside the industry noticed. NVIDIA bought a company called Mellanox, a networking business. Why does a chip company need networking? Because training modern AI doesn't happen on one computer. It happens across tens of thousands of chips, all talking to each other at once. NVIDIA had quietly bought the wiring for the future of computing. By 2023, they added their own data center processor called Grace. Chip, networking, software, developer tools, entire server systems. NVIDIA wasn't selling parts anymore. It was selling the whole machine. And here's the secret that explains why almost nobody can compete with them, even now. It was never really about the chip. More than 4 million developers already build on NVIDIA's software. Over 40,000 companies, 15,000 startups. Every one of them trained, every tool they built, every line of code locked to NVIDIA's ecosystem. Switching to a competitor doesn't mean buying a different chip. It means rebuilding everything from scratch. That's the moat competitors still haven't found a way around. Not speed, not price. Habit, infrastructure, millions of people who don't know how to leave. By the 2025 fiscal year, the numbers were almost hard to believe. $130.5 billion in revenue, up 114% in a single year. $115.2 billion of that, from data centers alone, AI infrastructure sold to cloud giants racing, not to fall behind. More than 75% of the world's fastest supercomputers now run on NVIDIA technology. Over half of the company's engineers don't even work on hardware. They work on software, an almost unheard-of ratio for a chip company. Jensen Huang, still wearing the same leather jacket he's worn for years, stood on stage in 2025 and said something that sounded like hype. He said demand for their newest chip was amazing, calling it part of a new scaling law for reasoning AI. It wasn't hype, it was math. 53% of NVIDIA's revenue now comes from outside the United States. This isn't a Silicon Valley story anymore, it's a global dependency. But empires this large don't stay untouched. NVIDIA tried to buy a company called ARM, a deal that could have made them even more dominant across the entire chip industry. Regulators killed it. It was one of the biggest failed acquisitions in tech history. There's another failure buried in NVIDIA's past that almost nobody remembers. They tried, more than once, to break into mobile phone chips. It never worked. Today, the company that powers the smartest machines on Earth has almost no presence in the phone in your pocket. And the giants they now depend on, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, are quietly building their own chips. The same customers buying billions of dollars of NVIDIA hardware are also trying to need it less. Add to that export restrictions cutting off access to China, supply shortages during every major product launch, massive energy demands that data centers may not be able to keep feeding forever. The empire is enormous. It is not invincible. Here's the question nobody can answer yet. Almost 88% of NVIDIA's entire business now depends on one single market: AI data centers. If that spending ever slows down, even slightly, the company that looked unstoppable could feel the floor shift beneath it fast. CUDA made NVIDIA the default choice for a decade. But if rival software ever becomes portable enough to work across different chips, that decade-long advantage could shrink overnight. Nobody knows if that moment is coming in 2 years, or 10, or never. 3 engineers walked into a Denny's in 1993, trying to make video games look better. 30 years later, their company sits underneath almost every major leap in artificial intelligence on the planet, not because they planned it, but because they prepared for a future before anyone believed it was real. The next chapter of that story hasn't been written yet. And this time, even NVIDIA doesn't know how it ends.